All right, so this is, we're in week 4. This is the 3rd writing workshop, right? Okay, so welcome to the week 4 writing workshop. Today we'll be talking about IP documents and character documents. So today's going to be a little bit more casual. There's not actually a presentation. We're just going to be looking over these sort of template documents that I've got going here and explaining them. So really quick, just brief overview. IP documents, they're also called world documents, world Bibles, story Bibles, whatever. And character documents are just good ways to document your characters and worlds so that the rest of your team can understand what it is you want it to be. So just like how designers have a game design doc, or GDD, where they explain all the design components of their game, writers have IP documents and character documents. So today, we're going to get started with the IP document. So the way that this is going to work is this is sort of at the same time a template and an explanation of what it is. So for example, this overview summary premise, I'm overviewing what I'm going over, but also it would be a section in your IP document to cover or explain. So an IP document is a document that describes the world of your game. You can read. As a writer, you'll want to create an IP document for your game so that the rest of your team understands the world as you see it. So it's really an organizational thing. It's really important for collaboration with artists and designers, and but everyone on the team should be familiar with the document. You can choose to have an overview section like this, but there's not actually like a strict format here. These are all mostly suggestions and good things to have in your documents. So here's some good ones. And this is, scroll wheels are good. Okay, so the big one is the core concepts, or pillars. These are the main points of your world, like the big, what makes it special, what makes it different, what defines the world that we're working in. So for some like series that you're probably familiar with, we could say there's like a higher power that controls the flow of the universe, and certain individuals who are sort of attuned to this power can perform what we might call magic. That could be a pillar for Star Wars. And that might not be the only one. You might also have like, hey, there's like a lot of worlds. It's a spacefaring like sort of time, and there's just all sorts of different cultures and environments, but all of these things are like, the common theme is this core pillar of there's the Force. We can have people catch and raise the fauna of this world and have them fight each other for entertainment. But it's not animal cruelty, it's actually really good. That could be Pokemon. That would be the core of that world. And again, it's not just one per thing. You can have like 4 pillars that like define your world. Let's say the forces of light and darkness are in eternal conflict. The good guys are the forces of darkness. Some RPG out there probably has that as their big point. Here's where we get into some things you probably have thought about. World building. So this is where we actually sort of start talking about the world itself. So this could look like geographical regions and locations. So I have an example here. The Nimbus. It's a bar located in the smallest corner in the city of Ciel. By the day, it is a quiet place where many a tired soul find respite, or respite, I don't know how to pronounce that word. By night, the place shelters a different breed. Adventurers from all around gather to tell their stories and get a drink. So I could be explaining, hey, there are some significant locations here, or maybe in our game we'll be visiting the Nimbus. I could be talking about, hey, the Glass Canyons, they're this great big canyon environment, and you can go all out, you can go as far as you'd like, but in the context of the game dev, right, it's probably good to restrict this to places you'll be visiting in your actual game or in your levels, right? But it can help you sort of write out what you want from those levels. Another thing, histories to your world, like, hey, what happened in the past of our world? Did they have a great war where everybody died except for people that were left-handed? Maybe. So here's where you can talk about that sort of thing. So some subsections you might want to consider: significant historical figures. So in my example, I have Tempest the Unyielding, an almighty mage who slew an entire army with a flick of her wrists, the patron saint of the storm chasers. So I could have gone into greater detail, but that's just some sort of flavor to a significant person in the past who's probably not alive still, or maybe they are. I don't know. You can include significant events. So I told myself I wasn't going to use the scroll wheel. So if there was like an event that really defines the time that we're currently working in our game, that would be here. So let's say the Great Storm, it like destroyed the entire city and we've just rebuilt. That would define what our level would look like, or maybe what mechanics we're working with. So let's say, hey, this is a catastrophe which struck nearly 5 decades ago, during which lightning arced through the sky like it was rain. Since the Great Storm, the people of Ciel rely on the storm chasers to discharge the energy within the storm clouds around the city. Cool. Cultures, you could do this as well. This is not in the same section of history, this would be its own little thing to talk about within our world. So let's say this could be like elves. Like, hey, the elves have their own little culture off in the woods or the mountains, wherever they live. The dwarves might have their own culture where they value craftsmanship and honesty. This is things that we can talk about here. So in my example, I have the Sky People. They're a mysterious culture of people who reside in the sky. They use ancient magic and they're really cool. And so then groups, factions, organizations, and religions. These don't have to all be lumped into one. You can separate it out if you so choose. I have the Storm Chasers, an order of mages and adventurers with a nearly fanatic zeal for all things to do with weather magics, be it water or ice or electricity. They are known for their flashy uniforms, robes that change colors with the current weather. So yeah, this is all world building, which is really cool, really great, really fun to do. But try not to get too carried away, because you'll find that a lot of this won't always make it into your game, but it can inform the decisions you make when making it. So it's kind of whatever you put into it, you get a bit out of it, right? But I just want to make it clear, you might not always get every single detail from your world document into the game directly. So be mindful of that, but also have a great time. Like, have fun, that's the important part. So the last section to do is also key characters. So this is going to lead right into our character documents. Here's where you want to maybe like overview or summarize, hey, here's a list of really important characters, but you'll go into further detail in your character documents for them. So let's say, hey, here's our main character, Talia Taze, a new member of the Storm Chasers and the hero of the story. I said that twice. Talia punches first and asks question later in her quest to save the world, or at least part of it. She is quick to action and eager for glory, earning her the name the Rolling Storm by her fellow initiates. Despite her aggressive nature, she deeply cares for her home and those around her. So this would be, say, a main character, maybe some side characters that are important to the story, maybe the villain, right? List them off, say why they're important or what they do, right? Important to note, the IP document, it is not telling us the story, it is describing the world that we're working in, the setting. So don't need to go all out, but it is good to know what your story is, in your head, at least. Some miscellaneous information that might be good to have, not necessary, but if you like it, put it in. It's fun, right? You could have, say, magic systems. So let's say, hey, in this world, we've got 4 major elements, and some people are able to sort of bend it to their will and move it around, and they're really cool folks, but not everyone can do this. There's a bit of overlap here. This could fit in with maybe cultures or like pillars, maybe. But yeah, it's, again, a really fluid document, but it's important to try to document it out and have this image in your mind of what you're going for with the world. So with that, let's go into character documents. So a character document is kind of like the IP document, but it's for a specific character. So this is where we really work on and define how our character works. They're really important, again, if you're working with an artist, especially, to sort of iron out what the character looks like, what they do, who they are, right? Because a lot of that can be informed or can inform their design. Like, hey, this person's got like a super heavy wool, like fur coat that they've gotten from a slain bear that they killed themselves with their bare hands. That tells us something about the character. Like, hey, this is a person who fights bears for fun. That's not someone I want to mess around with, or maybe I want to be friends with them. Who knows? So here's some documentation for that type of thing. So first, you want to go over like a brief concept, really like who they are in general. So I've just gone and taken the liberty of making this character document about Talia Taze, the character I mentioned before. So more of the same. Here's our typical action hero, and hopefully we're rooting for her. So appearance, again, good for artists, right? And sometimes you might get the art first, in which case, kind of like, hey, chicken or egg, which one came first? Well, doesn't matter, we got a cool character. So how they look to others, if you're working with artists, it's a good idea to collaborate with them on the design. Talk to your artists, unless you are an artist, in which case talk to yourself. So really it's important that the artist or the players can visualize who the character is and what they look like. Also, don't be racist or sexist, please. So example text, backstory. Here's a fun one. So let's say our character witnessed their parents getting murdered right in front of their face in a dark alleyway after a theater show or something. That's their backstory. Why is that important? Well, hey, maybe that makes them want to go be a vigilante and wear a mask all day and night. So really, it's really fun to sort of think through your character and what their actions would be and what they would want to do, and that can be determined by their backstory. So it's a good idea to list that out. Voice, here's a kind of, it's not as important, I'd say. It's what they sound like. Can help visualize. It's more important, I guess, if you got a voice actor, which is possible, but not quite in the scope of this club. But we'll get there. Personality traits, really more description. How they act, what they want to do, how they might react to a given scenario. Like, hey, you just tripped on your foot. Do you laugh it off? Do you curse and swear? Do you pretend like it didn't happen? Who knows? That's where you could answer those questions. Really, these documents are a big series of answering questions about the character that you have at hand. Interaction with the world. This is where they fit in the world around them. So this can be a matter of community, who they are with, like how other people see them. Ah, she's a menace. He's the hero of the town. It's their interaction with the world. This can also be interaction with other characters, right? Maybe they have like a really close friend. You could mention that here. It's not super strict guidelines on either of these documents, once again. Yeah. Here we go. Sample dialogue. Here's a fun one. Again, more important if you're doing like voice actor stuff, but also fun to do. Really gets a feel for their personality. Here's where you can sort of work with the personality that you got going for them and try to get that out through some dialogue, which we'll be covering in a later workshop. Yeah. And then a sample scene, once again, good for voice acting and stuff, but not immediately necessary for most of our needs for character documents. Still, it's kind of fun to do. I had fun writing this one up, just for a thing. So some miscellaneous things. Here we could, maybe if they're like super skilled with magic or something, list out some abilities they got, right? Tread in some D&D character sheet type stuff where it's like, oh yeah, they're proficient with long swords and bows. Motivations. This also ties into the backstory a little bit, but if you want to have like a really set place to say, hey, they fight for justice because they lost a bet, that could be what you want to say. So yeah, really good to try to hit all these marks and just sort of try to flesh out your character as best as you can, because an interesting character can carry a bad story or something like that. Important note, the Creative Writers Guild meeting tomorrow evening, their meeting is going to be on characters and writing really cool characters. So if you want to learn more about what you want, or maybe some like good practices to do for like making really interesting characters, I highly suggest checking them out and visiting them too. I'll try to post more information about that in the Discord later. But for now, let's do an activity. So I should have sent you all images from the art workshops recently, where they had to create a character based on 3 classifiers. Today, we'll be writing some character documents for these characters. I don't think I've given you any of the artworks that are of specific people, so you're free to name them whatever you want, define their backstories and personalities and their character traits and whatnot. I will, in a new document, quickly write out like the big main headers of these sections so you can see them all. And we'll make some characters and chat about that once we're finished. So yeah, this is going to be very boring for any of you visiting us on the stream, but we'll be doing an interactive activity here, so bear with us. And you guys have all gotten the art, right? Yes, we're good? Okay, cool.
Can you try sending it again?
Yeah, sure. Let's see, which one did I send to you? I don't remember which one I was sending to you, so I'll just send you a new one. Or I guess you could just Did,
Am I in the right one?
this is you, right?
It should be.
Okay. Oh, you need to be logged in with your school email as well.
Oh, with my school email? Okay,
Yeah,
no, this
sorry
is
for
my
the
private
inconvenience.
one, so.
Yeah. So feel free to use either links I sent you, because I think I sent you 2 now.
I
Hi there. Would you like to join our activity?
Sure.
It's going to be a little hard because you missed all of the information, but essentially, we're making character documents based on art from the Art Strike activities. So, let me find you an art to make a character document for. Essentially, a character document is a sheet that, okay.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it. I don't think I can.
Oh, okay. In that case, you can borrow, or just look over here and pull it here. I'll move this over there, but let me quickly get a picture to this friend over here. Get a shareable link. Okay. You're on Discord, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let me find you. You have to open it with your school email, by the way. You write a character document for this friend. If you want, I guess you could take a picture of the screen, which is not the most efficient way.
Can you send it to JSWin at UC Irvine?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Give me one moment. Share with. Oh, give me another additional second. Sorry for the inconvenience.
That's fine.
Okay. There must have been a better way to do this. Sharing a PDF image, or no, it's a PNG with, what was it again?
GSWin. HUYNH.
H-U. Oh, Y.
NH.
Just like that?
GS. Yes, and then at UC Irvine.
Alright.
Is it a chipmunk?
Is it a chipmunk?
That's a rabbit. Or is it a squirrel?
If you, they might have the descriptors in the corner if you look very closely, but I can tell you, I believe that one was a blind squirrel in a classy suit. But try your best to create the character without looking at the descriptors that we gave the artist, I guess. But if you get stuck, feel free to look at those too.
Question.
Yes?
Is this guy's name Riley, or is that your name in here?
That is the name of the artist. So you don't have to name them after the artist. You can name them whatever you want. But if you wanted to name the Orca Riley, you can do that. Okay. What character did you get?
The robot cat with something something.
Can I trade you?
No, no trading.
God, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was gonna quickly write out the headers for you guys so you could see. We'll just do it at the bottom of this. So, they are all over the place. We are over here. So, your character document has... Why is the backspace gonna be so small? Can't make a mistake. Wait a minute. going, Anthony?
Still looking at what to do.
Okay.
Need to think here.
Need to think? Okay. Do you need help? Have any questions?
I guess just a quick question. The difference between the character document and the backstory.
The character document is the thing as a whole. Like, the entire thing is called the character document. The backstory is like, hey, we're working with them at a current point in time. What were some significant events before that point in time?
Okay. And there's already like a drawing of the gags that's like you're gonna have to bother with appearance.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Use your words, man.
Oh, man. And then what about for concept? What do you write?
In brief, who are they?
Okay.
Well, I cannot go visit you over here with this wire in the way. How's the activity going for you over here?
I'm starting to figure it out.
Great,
Just
great.
stared at the picture for like
I feel
5
like
minutes.
it might have been, could have used a piece of paper, but
I could have, but
here we are. Cool. What's your character's name?
Mutant.
Hmm?
Mutant.
Oh, okay.
With a terrible pun, because I like
Oh,
terrible
I see.
puns.
I get it. I get it. How's it going over here?
I have a good idea of what I want.
Great. Glad to hear it. Have any questions? All good? Just sort of rocking at it.
Yeah.
Great. I'm excited to hear what you got for, what's his name? What's their name?
Blake.
What?
Blake.
Blake?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what we have for Blake. I got it. Hello. Currently in a workshop. Off that wire, by the way. If you'd like to join us, we're writing character documents for all of the art you guys did for characters. You don't have to if you don't want to, of course.
Oh. No, I'll do it. I just like late.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We can catch you up really quick if you want. So basically, we have IP documents, which are big, giant summaries of the worlds we're working in our games. And we have character documents, which are more specifically about each character. So here are just really quickly the headers of character document. And it's not a strict format, but it's really just a way to share who the characters are and what they look like to the rest of the team, be it the team artists or designers or programmers, but primarily the artists and designers so that we can have an idea of what we're working with. Since if you ever work as the artist as well as the writer, then it's less of a problem, but still good to have. And I don't know if I made the point earlier, but you probably don't need to do this for every single character, just the most important ones, because if we had a character document for every single NPC, that would be a lot of work. And then the IP document has a couple big sections, the just general overview of the world. The core pillars are like the main points behind the world. I can catch you up on this a bit more detailed afterwards too. We have like geographical regions and locations, histories, cultures. This is all just like world building. So go crazy with world building, except don't, because you won't fit all of it into the game. So be mindful of that, is the main point. And then also list key characters. And you can also talk about like magic systems if you'd like. And yeah, that very, very quickly catches you up with what we were talking about, and this is the current activity.
Okay.
If you want to know more about making good characters, we have the Creative Writers Guild is doing a workshop on characters and character building tomorrow night. So, heads up, yeah. Do you need a random character from the activity, or do you? You can
sure.
use your own if you want as well.
Okay, what time is the thing tomorrow?
The Creative Writers Guild?
writers.
It's later in the evening. I want to say around 7 or so. I'll give the exact date later.
Okay.
I think I'm going to stop the stream here because I don't want to have just a ton of like quiet time while we're all working here. So if you guys are joining us online, thank you very much for watching the third writing workshop. Next week we'll be talking about screenplay format. So with that, thank you for joining us. I'm going to close the stream. If you want to, if you decided to do this on your own online, feel free to bring it up on the Discord and chat with us about it. Should be cool. All right, bye.